following some rules. Paying $100, to do that. You may not be able to blame them anyway. If help is not really coming, you just have to find help somehow. But then, why this? Why always this in Africa? That's why we're here this morning. We have Ustaz joining us. Ustaz, once more, welcome to the program. Ustaz, now, the way this is going, should Africa still be experiencing these when we're talking about deepening democracy?
Oh, thank you so much. Africa will keep on experiencing this. Yoruba will say, once there is lies in your head, the blood underneath your fingernail will never stop. As long as we have people that are interested in our mineral resources, as long as we have people that really feel that our peace is not in their interest, we'll keep on having that. But maybe that is going too far. Let me start like this. We all know what is happening in Sudan. And you have not brought me here to tell you what is happening in Sudan. It's in the news. Why we are here is to discuss why is it happening. And is there any lesson that we can learn, as a country from what is happening? And is there a way we can prevent it, happening all over Africa? Because some of these things have impact. When it's happening in one place, the neighboring countries normally will have, issues, and we need to have a way to stop some of these things. But what's happening in Sudan, it's a simple thing. What brought it about? And I pray and I hope Nigerians are listening. More so the pro-democracy group in Nigeria, the Nothing is Working in Nigeria group, I hope they are listening. Because this thing didn't start April 15th, that the gun really sounded. It started back in 2018, 2019, when Omar al-Bashir was thrown out of office by the pro-democracy group. I was a military man, he was too autocratic, he was this, he was undemocratic, and they came to the street and they kept on, fighting. Protesting until the military came up and took over power. And that was, what's his name? Burhan, took over, Dagalo, known as Ahmed C or whatever, was part of the system. That is even another story of its own. Because how did it come up? How did the Rapid Response Force, how did the Rapid Support Force, RSF, how did it come up? We need to look into that. But what happened was they both came together and eventually threw out Omar al-Bashir. And a little bit of protest and then they agreed to the pro-democracy group. Okay, come, let's discuss. They formed, a coalition government, partly military, partly civilian. After some time, they threw away the civilian, element of the government, and the military took over. Then there became an issue. There came up an issue rather between, Omar, who is heading the substantive army, the standing army of Sudan, and Dagalo Ahmed T, that is, the commander of the Rapid Support Force, RSF. And the Rapid Support Force, we need to explain that. All the challenges you have on ground in Sudan was caused by Bashir before he left office. We should not forget, we should try and fast back to 20 years ago, Darfur crisis. And Sudan wanted to take over Darfur. Bashir was of the opinion that the standard regular army were not fighting the war the way he wanted to fight it. So he brought up a militia group. Now, who are the setup of this militia group? I'll give an instance, inverted commas. When you come to Nigeria, we have the others, Fulani headmen, who, when you look at the history of Nigeria, the Usman Dan Fodio Empire, they were the bulk of the army of Usman Dan Fodio because they were warlike. So they were the set of people Omar recruited into this militia group. They were, camel herders, cattle rearers. He brought them together. Then made them into a paramilitary system and decided to give their commander a military rank. Thereby, he has created a problem for the Sudan military. But because they were using these people to do their spade work, all the dirty jobs, in fighting the Darfur war, the army felt comfortable using them. And if you look at Human Rights Watch, they accused this paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Force, of many atrocities. Now, the war was over. How do we do it now? But this same set of people continue with these atrocities on Sudanese. So this was what took Sudanese to the street. And Bashir was flushed out. Now after he has been flushed out and military took over, there was a meeting between the military and the pro-democracy group where they agreed that they need to integrate the militia group, the paramilitary group of the Rapid Support Force, into the Sudanese military. That is where they feel they can be controlled, because they will become uncontrollable. You understand? But before then, Omar has sent them to Yemen. He has sent them to Libya. He has sent them to another country.
To represent Sudan.
To fight.
To fight.
You understand? As mercenary. So they are war hardened already. So when the idea of let us reintegrate them came up, the paramilitary group headed by Dagalo said no. Because what came up was who will head the army. If we integrate us into the army, who is going to head the army? So the timetable set was for 2 years. The RSF said no, it should be for 10 years. That the integration should go for 10 years. That was what brought out the present problem. Now when it came up, because people were out there, how did it fester? We had interest, regional interest. We have external interest. In Russia, the Magna Group came up. I hope you all saw the report made by CNN on the involvement in the Magna Group, in Sudan. What are they doing there? They are illegally mining the gold. Dagalo, the head of the RSF, has become stupendously rich because of the gold he was mining. You understand? Illegally. So they were being used. Yes. So that is what is making the problem to go on now. And unfortunately, I don't see the solution in sight. So why I said Nigerians should listen is that those of us that are calling and asking military for takeover, no, we don't want this, we don't want that. The end result is what is happening in Libya, in Sudan. And unfortunately, Sudan is going down the way of Libya.
So from the way you have analyzed the issues, going on, giving us a historical background to what is going on presently in Sudan, you've talked about the people who's interested in mineral resources, that is the mineral resources of the Sudanese people, and their interest is always to protect, that one. And when you look at this particular crisis, after looking at the origins that you have identified, are you thinking of a proxy war going on? We know what happened in Syria, what happened in Libya. We are aware of what is happening presently in Russia and Ukraine, where we have the big powers, taking shape as to who to support and who not to support. Are you looking at that also going on apart from the periphery of the crisis in Sudan right now?
Anywhere there is crisis in Africa is always as a result of what people outside Africa are doing. When you look at Uganda, these other countries, Central African Republic, all over the place, it's because of somebody outside Africa is interested in creating problem in that area. And we are lucky in Nigeria that we have not gotten to a level where the power outside Nigeria have been able to take over the internal problems that we have to their advantage. We are so lucky with that. What is happening in Sudan it could have happened in Nigeria. We also what is happening in Zamfara. Quite a number of the banditry, the problem we have over there is because of some of the minerals that are, illegally taken there. So we are lucky in Nigeria. But when you see any problem happening in Africa, it's because of somebody outside Africa is interested. Let me tell you that it's not just Russia that is interested in, I'm coming to your question, that these countries are only leveraging on the problem we have with the selfishness, the greediness of, the two leading commanders, yes. there. So they don't want just anybody taking over the governance, in Sudan. That's why all of them are interested. Russia on its own has an issue with funds, and they want to use the money, gold, to bankroll what is happening in Ukraine. So we have about 4 major powers, but the US too is not keeping quiet. The US is working through the UAE, the Emirati, because of the port they want to build there. Once they're able to build a port there, US is able to bring in their warship and etc. into the military base that is built there. So all the superpowers in there, then the Chinese too are equally.
What's the interest of the AU in this particular crisis?
The AU is even quiet as of now. And I'll tell you why the AU is quiet. Because for now, they don't know why they need to go into it. And they have so much on their hands that they don't even know how to start it. The countries that are trying to make effort, that the 3 countries that are neighboring Sudan that have been asked to, there is a national IDP or so, have been asked to intervene. The 3 heads of state are yet to know what to do and how to go about into it. Because when you talk of intervention, into crisis like this, it involves a lot of money. So which country in Africa want to spearhead that? Nigeria did that in Liberia. Nigeria did that with Sierra Leone and some other countries. Who wants to do that with this country? Nobody is coming up.
Let's look at ambition here, Ustaz. The history of the world is replete with ambition. Everybody could have ambition. But when ambition is going haywire and it's affecting your society, it becomes something else. I thought that Africa should have actually progressed outside this kind of conflict, but here we are again, ambition in Sudan snowballing, becoming something else. Now she mentioned the issue of AU the other time, and as you said, AU has been quiet. But then, what should be the responsibility of AU in this situation, if not to actually come into this crisis and bring it down completely?
You see, Africa will keep on having, I said it. The kind of independence we got from our colonial masters was such that will not take us to the promised land. I mean, boo-boo traps all over the place, that you cannot really achieve whatever peace you want to achieve. Nigeria is this peaceful because it is taking the people of Nigeria to say, no, we don't want to war in our land. But in other places, they've been able to find the ember of greed of some of their elements. Like I said, Omar al-Bashir created this when he created the RSF. After creating the RSF, it was there, becoming uncontrollable, and it's like that all over. When you look at what's happening in Uganda, the mineral resources that are taking Uganda and all of that countries of the world, the same thing is equally happening. Somebody somewhere is finding the ember of this in them, and they have somebody out there who is ready to listen to what is happening. So the European powers or outside powers have interest in ensuring that there is no peace in Africa. That is when they can be able to explore and exploit our resources to their advantage. That is on one part. On the side of the AU, the chairman of the AU is expected to go to Sudan. But now the question is, when he goes to Sudan, who is he negotiating with?
Is he bringing the 2 parties together to negotiate with them, or what?
Going forward, analysts have said the only way they feel there could be peace in Sudan is for the civilian, government to be inaugurated. But the way things are, that is not forthcoming, that is not feasible. Because Dagalo, for instance now, they have called for a ceasefire during the Salah. But nobody respected the ceasefire. Do you know why? Because both of them feel that they are in control. None of them will come to the negotiating table until he feels that he is perhaps going to lose this war. Then he now uses that his power, bring it to the table to negotiate. For now, both of them feel they can have control. Unfortunately for the Sudanese army, that's the major thing. They've not been a fighting army. The Sudanese army have never been a fighting army. They've been using the RSF to do their archet jobs. So now that there's need for them to fight a war, they are finding it difficult to fight the war because all the while it is the RSF that are doing the full soldiers fighting for the Sudanese army. So if AU goes there, who is AU negotiating with?
In so many years back, we had African leaders in the class of Nkrumah, Nyerere, who were like at rallying points, who were the ones who were actually dousing the tension every now and then. It came, and I'm talking about the influence of the world, Europe on this matter. Now, where is that rallying point today? You want to mention Chief Olusegun Obasanjo? He's aging. Ordinarily, this is something that he will have actually plunged himself into.
Mandela is also not alive.
Yeah, but then Mandela is also not alive, and so it's like Africa is in big crisis of leadership.
That is why the AU president is like a toothless bulldog. Whenever you see AU meeting, look at the kind of respect they accord to a Buhari at their meeting. It's not just because Buhari has the experience in there, because Nigeria has what it takes, the money.
Yeah.
Because some of these things needs money, needs fund. So if you ask Olusegun Obasanjo, yes, he has what it takes, he has the clout to go in and see what they can do about it. Yes, I agree with you. Who is going to bankroll whatever they want to do in Sudan? Every country in Africa has an issue now, battling with debt here and there. So who is going to take over that? The world already has a lot on their hands. Europe has a lot on their hands with Ukraine. I don't know whether you are getting it. So who is good? Sudan is like a minor problem compared to the challenges people are having on their hands. And that's why it's not easy for AU to go in.
When we have a crisis like this, we recall the president talking about the effect of the crisis in Libya on Nigerian security, and which is one of the reasons Nigeria has been playing the big brother role. You talked about Liberia, you talked about Sierra Leone, our intervention there. At that stage, people or experts like you actually said, Nigeria was just going there without also taking something from those countries. So if Nigeria is going to go into Sudan to bankroll the intervention of the AU or whichever country, what should Nigeria be asking for from the Sudanese government or whoever it is that they are doing a negotiation with, such that it is not the international communities or, let's say, the world powers, the Russias of today and the US of today that would be benefiting eventually when the war subsided, or the crisis subsided?
We are needing to look at who is blowing the trumpet. Yeah, the sound of trumpet, and we are like, look, this thing is disturbing our peace. But we are not looking at who is behind the trumpet, blowing the trumpet. If anybody is going to intervene or do anything in Sudan, they will need to look at those that are fanning the ember of the problem in Sudan. Like I said,
as the secondary stakeholders now, the ones that are actually funding whatever it is, they talked about the arms that are coming into the country.
Yeah, the arms and even the ideology of the fight. Okay. The ideology of the fight too matters, because even beyond the arms and ammunition, what about the ideology? If you are not changing the ideology of the two factions or the warring groups, certainly there won't be end to the war.
Now, maybe we need to ask this question: what is Dagalo standing to lose if we try to say, okay, look, I want to back up, or back down rather?
Back down.
What is Burhan going to lose if he says, okay, can this thing stop? Dagalo is going to lose the control of the gold mine. He is illegally mining and all his wealth. He's going to lose that. He's going to lose his voice. That already, he has an army. And the army is under the control of the Sudanese army. He's going to lose that because all those things need to be taken away from him for that nation to come up. So if you want him to listen, you have to give him guarantee that some of those things that he's coveting now will still be there for him.
Okay.
Now you need to look at the Sudanese army and what they are controlling. The agricultural resources, huge, then also now who controls the army, which is what Burhan is saying. Look, if you are going to integrate this RSF into the Sudanese army, I am the commander of the regular army, and I should be the commander of this. All these are there. So if we cannot be able to negotiate some of these and be able to bring them to the table to say, okay, look, listen, some of the things you are coveting, like making them to get scared to want to come into this, to want to step down, we will take care of them. Unless you do that, we need to look at the forces and powers that are interested. How are you going to take care of their interest? I said, the Emirati has invested over $6 billion already in Sudan because they want to build a port there. Now, what is going to be their stake if that happens? So these are all the things that need to bring to the table. So if AU, whatever is going into it, needs to look, they need to identify who are the beneficiary of the crisis. Yeah, because
when you also look at Sudan sharing borders with 7 other countries, you have Libya, you have Egypt, you have Chad, Central African Republic, Ethiopia, and Eritrea, and you ask what exactly would be their role at this critical stage.
It's the Abiy of Ethiopia for now is battling with the Eritrea issue, and he feels that whatever is happening in in Sudan shouldn't be too much of his problem, because ordinarily the people are not coming towards this country as refugees; they are going towards Chad. So people that feel like, look, we need to get more into this. Countries like Chad, the South Sudanese themselves, because they cannot be able to sell their oil again with what is happening. They need to take their oil to the outside world through Sudan. So they are really, really interested in whatever is happening over there. And Egypt too is equally interested, because whatever happens in Sudan is going to, be a fallout for them because of the strategic location of Sudan itself. But for now, Abe is like, he has enough on his hand with the Eritrea issue. You understand? So he's not feeling like.
When we say naive question in quote, why do you have such population of Nigerians in Sudan?
It's a big one. Quite a number of news media this morning discussed this, and it was really a hot discussion on quite a number of radio, TV. When I got here, I saw you guys discussing it. It's a big one, and there is no way you won't have Nigerians like as much as that in in Sudan, because of the fact that Sudan is an Arabic country, and quite a number of our Muslims are going there for Arabic education.
Oh, okay.
That's the truth. Maybe people don't know. The choice is that people go to, apart from going to Saudi, Egypt, Cairo, for their Arabic, further education in Arabic, they also go to Sudan. You understand? So that's why you see quite a number of Nigerians that are there, apart from those that want to use the place to get to Saudi Arabia and all the stuff, all the stuff. That's why you have them huge there. Apart from the figure that government has given, the official figure government has given, there is more than the numbers we are given. But however, the truth of the matter is, every country in the world is having difficulty in evacuating their citizens. What the US currently is doing is just evacuating their embassy staff. They have said they won't go after any American for now, because they know it's going to be difficult. They don't want to have the problem they have in Somalia on their hands. In Sudan. They need to be careful. That's the thing. They are not for now going after any of their citizens, but they only evacuate their embassy staff, which I think they've done.
Okay. Now let's move on now to join our virtual guest this morning. I don't know if Demola is perfectly ready for us now. Well, the last time we had technology issue with Demola. Okay, I think I saw the signal, but it's gone. Demola Adewusi is a border and boundary expert. Let's see if he's going to reconnect us, and we will love to have him join us, on this discussion this morning. So, you've explained it perfectly well. Nigerians are schooling in Sudan because of Arabic education, and I also know for other ventures too, we have Nigerians in Sudan. I know Sudan has two of the biggest football club sites in Africa, El Merreikh and Al Hilal, and one will be, some people are really surprised that we have them, but I think you have explained. So I think Demola is back. Let's see if you can actually connect Demola now. Hello, Demola. Sorry, Simeon.
Hi.
Good morning, Demola. Good morning. How are you doing? So you've listened to, without really wasting your time, please give us your perspectives on this issue.
Variation 500 medium now it borders the DR Congo, borders Libya already, borders Chad, it borders Ethiopia, Eritrea, and that's South Sudan. So you know that the armed nation in that is almost the only country that seems to is a neighbor of Sudan. So you realize that Egypt is almost all from one or the other. This to the this army is not different for where this militia would consolidate into a group. A factor is that really generates the interest in everybody. Whenever they have, they fight each other.
There.
Okay.
We hope the Mala will come back.
Honestly, there is this angle to the narrative that we've been talking about. You mentioned the religious angle to it, where why Nigerians are in Sudan, and some have said that part of the problems they have is also related to religion and, of course, ethnicities of the different groups in Sudan as well, which is largely okay. Okay.
Yes, countries with very capacity and experience have not been able to. What they have done is only diplomatic staff and essential services. And with that, I saw the video of going to Sudan. They were heavily prepared and the for this is Somalian. And armed forces engage battle to be able to take our citizens. So now the problem is with Nigeria. We have a very large of Nigerians who live in Sudan. And they are not ready. The problem now is what's the logistic involved in getting all the points. That is number one. Number which that to use. Is it now you all of this without as an international is your nightmare. I know diaspora trying to speak to other parts to neighboring countries is for Nigeria. But the problem that I doubt they have the military capacity to take the expense of our citizens who are in. So there is a whole lot.
Demola, when you look at, from your analysis, you look at the different, stakeholders involved in this particular crisis, you will also be tempted to look at the primary, the secondary, and of course the tertiary stakeholders, not looking at the two groups itself. So how do you think the world should react to this crisis in Sudan so that it will not snowball into insecurity, more insecurity, narratives in Africa, for example, and of course talking about the exporting terrorism as well as part of the challenge this could lead to?
First is that Sudan has a that they were the cushion actually and the is that a lot of actually linked to that or indirectly with violent terrorism or the now in that region there are several stakeholders playing this in Sudan. Let me give you an example now. Egypt has just hardened these borders now and said, you not go in and go in, come out to Sudan because of several reasons. Egypt supports a particular side on this matter. And everybody knows that Egypt supports a particular side. But the United Arab Emirates does not support that side. money for a lot of projects, for a lot of infrastructure in Egypt. There are also issues with Ethiopia when it comes to dam. There is a particular dam that they're trying to build and all of that. You know, part of this is Nilotic politics, meaning that everybody that shares the River Nile is involved in politics with Sudan because everybody is trying to say that we own the Nile together and you cannot dam it at a particular point in time. So now that's one. Then if you open that geopolitics to all the other countries in the world, meaning America, Russia, Sudan in itself has been a yo-yo in terms of not being with one country and the other on the side of on different sides of the ideological divide. At a particular time, the Soviet Union armed Sudanese rebels against the Mary-led federal government, which was supported by the United States. 10 years after that, they had switched sides. So let me just end it this way. Any conflict in Africa, especially in a region that is awash with sophisticated and heavy weapons like Sudan, is usually going to attract folks who are either looking for one natural resource and bringing arms in return for that natural resource, or they are looking for ways of selling arms, whichever way. So the lots of arms are going to be in that place now and trying to promote the conflict because that's what their business is. And then there will also be countries, especially colonial powers, trying to strengthen their geopolitical hold on Sudan and other countries in that region.
Okay, so Demola, is it a completely hopeless situation now as far as evacuation is concerned?
Well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to limit the ingenuity and creativity of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission to be able to extract Nigerians. But it is a daunting task, and it involves, I think this is the most complex situation that the Nigerian Diaspora Commission has ever had to deal with. And the reason is because it is a very big country. Sudan is 1.8 square kilometers, and I can assure you that Nigerians are going to be in every nook and cranny of that country. Now, so when you talk about extraction in conflict situations, you are talking about how well do you create 2-3 zones that your citizens can come into. And from that place, you can organize a safe passage and then move them to a place where you can either airlift or create maybe a temporary, holding place that you then take them out of. My problem with that is that, just like I mentioned, every nation around the Sudan is also embroiled in its own problems. Even if you wanted to hold anybody now, if you went through Ethiopia, they have food shortages. They have a battle going on with Eritrea. Now, how do you hold, let's even say 5,000 people? What is the logistics involved in holding 5,000 people in a temporary holding facility? How do you get food for them before you can even say, okay, we're going to have buses? There are too many failure points. You have to speak with the Sudanese army. You have to speak with the rapid support forces. Most times you have to pay something for them to create a safe passageway and say you must leave at this time and arrive at this time. You then have to pay to cross through the border, and there will be documentation issues. Who has a visa? Who doesn't have a visa? Is this a refugee situation? There are legal frameworks. Is this a refugee situation? Is it an So there are too many things to be done, and the problem is that the conflict is escalating faster than the efforts that are being made. And anytime in the world that you see the superpowers, you see France, you see Italy, you see the UK, you see America quickly evacuating their staff, it tells you that something is wrong, and it means that other countries need to do exactly the same thing. So it's the most complex we have faced so far.
Okay, Demola, we'll come back to you before we round off the program. You start.
must involve their interest. Like I told you, Dagalo is interested in ensuring that whatever money has acquired, taking over the gold mine is still there. The people that are financing him to have a stake there, and their interest is also there. Burhan on his own too, who is the factory leader of Sudan now, if you can call him, is openly sitting on the rich agricultural resources of Sudan and some other things. So we need to bring their interest to the table and see how we can make them to look, you are going to be protected.
Yeah.
Is this going to actually fast track the handing over to the democratic,
That is not even in sight now.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth.
But is that a possible end to this? Because when you have two people like that, the warlords are claiming ownership, it's power tussle, and then ousting of the former president of the country, what's it called, al-Bashir, and then you are looking at the possible solution at this stage that the critical stakeholders outside Africa and of course within Africa should be looking at as well. Maybe that will restore peace at this level. Is that
a civilian government is not the option we have on the table now, because it can't come up. What I need to do is to massage the ego of these two people and give them a safe landing or safe haven regarding whatever they feel are their fears.
What's the message for Nigeria in all of this?
The message for Nigerians, whoever is saying that nothing is working in Nigeria should realize that those that says nothing was working in Sudan and now they're receiving end. And when it all broke out,
Libya too,
they have no role to play there. In fact, they are scrounging for their life now. All those the pro-democracy group are now looking for a way to save themselves. So when we are looking for opportunity and saying things are not working, we should not, uncannily open up door for selfish and greedy elements within our system. Because they are there, like I said, the military in Africa is a faction, is a political faction, and they look for the slightest opportunity to take over power. So what I'm advising Nigerians is that let us always give peace a chance. Let us try and work through our institution to solve our problem. Creating crisis is not the way forward for anybody.
So okay.
Yes, I think we should also ask for Demola's opinion. We don't pray this kind of a thing happens in Nigeria. The last time we had war of this nature was 67 to 70. That was the civil war. But it doesn't look like Nigeria could drift towards this kind of institution in the future. We don't pray so. Demola. Hello, did you get that, Demola?
No, I didn't get you.
Now we say, okay, let me simplify it. The lessons for Nigeria in this. The lessons for Nigeria.
Oh, okay. First, I think Sudan is a huge pointer to what Nigeria should not be. We're also a large nation. I think what Sudan tells all of us, 1 million people, almost a million square kilometers. If anything happens, and we fight ourselves to a point where we become refugees and we have to cross national lines, I can assure you that most nations that surround us, they will hardly be.
Okay. I think we're having network issue now. All the same, we would like to thank you so much, Demola Adewusi, border and boundary expert.
It's likely that you sell all of that to be able to get a message. So we have to be careful with the kind of rhetoric that we promote. We have to be careful with all the incitement and the hate that we do now. And let me just end by asking that the African Union needs to step up in this matter. This is a resource conflict. And most of the things happening in Africa are resource-based.
Yes.
Every time you see people say, I want to be president, and they cannot become president, and they quickly put a team together, there is a military team, they buy arms and ammunition. One usually wonders, where did they get the money? It is because they are tapping some resources that gives them access to all of these things. And DR Congo is a good example of this. Sudan has also joined. I think the African Union needs to step up now and be able to call these two people together and say, look, you cannot run Sudan through another civil war. That country in the past 50 years has spent more than half of 50 years in civil war. People of the Sudan need to be able to sit down and grow. Thank you.
All right, we must thank you so much for your perspectives this morning. Demola Adeusi, border and boundary expert. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you. We must also thank you so much, Ustaz Jibril Lawal, for coming this morning to, put light on this matter. Then your contributions have actually been we actually said the tone before the Mala came in. And so, for those who don't understand what is going on in Sudan, the best thing is to actually pray. Now that you have listened to these two gentlemen, and you need to begin to pray now. This kind of a thing does not happen to Nigeria. For those who have Nigerians in Sudan,
the truth of the matter is that let us work to solve our problem using our institution.
Exactly.
That is the way forward. Taking to the street, fighting, protesting,
inviting
anything will not solve our problem. They are not our friends.
Yeah.
Let us use our system, our institution to solve our problem. That is the way forward.
All right, using our institutions to fight to solve our problem, that is the way forward. Ustaz, thank you so much once more.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll take this break. When we come back, we shall be talking sports, management of sports facilities in Nigeria. Stay with us.